Hello, welcome to my channel, Priceless Freedom. My name is Sarah and thank you so very much for clicking to watch this video. In today's video, I will be going over our October budget, or how I'm planning our October budget. So here you can see the calendar that I referenced before in our first video. It lists our paydays in color and all the bills you have to pay in black. And so with this might be hard to figure out where the money is going and which week or pay period is weighed on heavier with bills. But if you see right here, in the first half of the month, we have the most bills right here. And the second half, we only have 2 bills. So the second half is where we have more flexibility in budgeting. And the first half is where we need to be a lot more careful and not overspending so that we make sure that we have enough for all the bills to come. So to help with visualizing that, I printed out another calendar. Similar, but a little different. Didn't have all the lines and all the big numbers. It's a little easier to look at. I colored in the days that we get paid on, and then just starred the days that we have bills. And I put a star for each bill. So there's some days that we have 2, some days we have 1. And I put a circle around the biggest bill we have, which is rent, to make sure that we are aware of that. And so in the month of October, we have about 4 full weeks. So I will be taking our budget goals for the month and dividing them by 4 so that it's split up for each week. This first pay period, it's going to cover about 2 weeks. From here all the way up to the 20th. And then the second paycheck, or second pay that we receive, is going to be covering another 2 weeks. We'll go into November, the first week of November. So we'll make sure to split up all our goals for 2 weeks, as these pay periods are going to be covering 2 weeks. Here is the budget goal that we have for October. I just put in on the top our estimated income and just populated what we're expecting for net, so that we can figure out if our bills that we're going to have and daily expenses end up going under or over what we are planning on having. So here we have the scheduled bills total plus the daily expense goals total added together and then subtracted from the monthly net estimate. And that gives us a total of $469. This $469 can go to sinking funds or extra savings. And then this number here, this 444, is just from the difference of the monthly goal from the actual amount due. There is one loan, my car loan, that I pay in excess compared to what I should be paying. And so I just do that just to make sure that we're still within reason to our budget. Now, with these numbers in mind, I will show you guys how I plan on budgeting our October expense. So if you guys remember, I had a goal for gas of $300. I'm going to show you guys the breakdown of how I came up with that number and how that's going to be split amongst the 2 pay periods. So gas, the goal is $300. For my mother to fill up a tank of gas, it takes her about $60 to do that. And she gets gas about twice a month. So we're gonna add another 60, and that equals 120. For myself, it takes about $45 to fill up, and I get gas about twice a month as well, giving me a total of $90. Now if you add 120 to 90, And here, I gotta bring up my big calculator. 120 plus 90 equals 210. Now that's nowhere close to 300. But because of how varied gas is these days, I like to add a little extra. So half of 60 is 30. So I just add a little half just in case on the week that we're not expecting my mother to spend on gas, she does need gas. Maybe she drove a little extra somewhere. Maybe we traveled somewhere going to an open house, or we visited someone and it was a bit far away. Adding a little bit just to compensate for that if that ever does occur. That gives us a total of 240. And then for myself, if you have 45 and half, that ends up being not a whole number. So I'm just going to round it up to 25. Then that makes 265. Now, if you look at just my mother's gas amounts, or at least the amounts we're estimating for her to spend, that's 120 plus 30, which brings her to 150. And then for myself, I have 90 plus 25. Let's just show you guys. 90 plus 25 goes 115. This is the amount she should be using for the whole of the month. And this is the amount I should be using for the whole of the month. Now, to figure out what will end up being for the 2 weeks, because we're splitting it in two, we'll half this. So 115 divided by 2 equals 75. So it's 75. And I'm going to say bi-weekly, right? And then this 115 divided by 2 equals, I'm going to say 58 bi-weekly. If you guys remember in a last budget with me, I did put down 75 for my mother bi-weekly, or at least that's what I put down for her gas. And for myself, I put 55. So I'm putting a little less than what I should be, but I am leaving myself some cushion. So just in case it ends up being closer to this, it's okay. I'm still gonna budget for myself $55, but for my mother, I will be budgeting 75. If you double this, add it together, it still ends up being 265. We're keeping the goal at 300 because gas is such a variable expense. The prices are going up and down, and some places are like really expensive and some places are pretty cheap. So because we don't know where next we will get gas, I'm just gonna keep that extra $35. So that's how we estimate for gas. Now for food, our goal for food is $300. Now let's just divide that in half and we're gonna get 150, 150. For this upcoming paycheck, this first paycheck in October, I budgeted 150 for my mother to spend on food, which is fine. And then for myself, we added a new daily expense tracker for cravings. This is just like extra food, things that we don't necessarily need, but you know, we want to get a little goody now and then. So we added an extra food category called cravings, and that's for 150 as well. So technically, if you look at this, we're spending 150 times 3, $450 on food, or at least we're budgeting to spend that. In September, we spent about $299, just under $300. So this month, I'm hoping that we can stay in this range. But just in case we can't, that's why I made this cravings budget. for the cravings budget, it's split up 75, 75. Just because some of the cravings we can have can be a bit pricey at times, like seafood. Now for clothes, it's about the same thing. I'm gonna write it all on the same page. For clothing, we have a goal of $290. This is an odd number. Not sure why I put down $290. I'm sure there was a reason back when, but this is split 45, 145, and 145. And now because we don't spend so much on clothing, we don't budget to spend this 145. But just in case, because sometimes you're like, we really need to get this pair of shoes and it's over budget, we have a little layaway. Most of the time, if we are trying to spend for clothing in the month, we want to spend at most $100. But just in case we need to replace some things and they're a bit pricey, we are budgeting this $290. So that is how I split up our monthly daily expenses, just so that when we do the budget, this is what's reflected there. But as I said, that most of the time we try to under budget so that if we need layaway, we can. Because sometimes if you put down this like 145, you'd be like, okay, I can go and splurge a bit. Oh, the total is like 150. That's fine. No. We want to try to be like, we want to spend only 100 this time, and this is all we want to spend for the rest of the month. So let's make it count. And that way we can avoid overspending or splurging. So if you find that you have a hard time planning out your budget or sticking to your budget, make sure to put in your budget a number that's way below what your actual goal is, and that way you're less motivated to spend. So I'm gonna show you guys our estimated budget for this upcoming paycheck. So let's start with my own. So this is for our first paycheck. I made a little mistake. It's okay, I don't have whiteout, so you can just mind that. So I just put in the estimated amount I'm expecting for net income for my 2 jobs. Then I put down the bills I'm going to be paying. Then I have the total. Then I have some cash envelopes. For this paycheck, daily expenses will be gas, food cravings, as I said before, household, clothes, gift, and tie. And this is a 540 and this is 167. And then for sinking funds, I have car maintenance at 50 and business as 30. I was thinking of saving towards some investment apps I had, but I figured that since I did it at the end of the month for last month, I'll just do that again for this upcoming month, for this month as well. And then I had $87 left, and instead of putting it towards $100 challenge and then the cent challenge, I decided to keep it as cushion since we're still in the month of October, just in case something ends up not going according to plan. Maybe there's an unexpected bill that comes up, or maybe the daily expenses go a little over. I have a little cushion layaway so that I'm not caught up in a mess maybe for the next pay period, just in case my hours don't maintain the same and what I'm expecting doesn't add up. And then for my mother, I went ahead and did the same thing for her. Put in her estimated net income. Put down her bills she has to pay, leftover. For her, her cash envelopes or daily expenses will be mainly gas, food, and then tie. Then she owes us Credit Karma. She saves money into that with the first check she gets in the month. And then she had, at the end, $62, and we left that as cushion for her, just in case something ends up changing. But I do want you guys to keep in mind that even though this month it doesn't seem that fun, If there ends up being layaway, let's say she doesn't spend all this money for gas. As I said, she typically pays $60, but I just budgeted $75 just in case. If there is excess, this can go to her sinking funds or a challenge. Same thing with food. Now I put this showing that we're planning on spending $75 for food each week, because the $150 is for half of the month. So I hope this helps you guys figure out how to prep your budget for the month and your estimates. And so then when we actually do get paid at the end of the week, I will post another video showing what we'll actually end up doing, and if we have a little extra, where those extras are going to end up going. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them down below and I'll try my best to get back at them, whether through a comment or in my next video. If you guys have any suggestions on how to make these videos better or more informational, or if you need me to clarify on something, please let me know down below as well. And stay tuned for my next videos. I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you. Bye.